Welcome to the What to Watch series, where we go over specific movies, video games. Sometimes we'll even do TV series where I don't review the entire series episode by episode. Maybe I'll just, watch the entire thing and then just do one big review regarding the entire thing and let you know what I thought. And at the end of the review, we will give the product a yay, a nay, or an okay to let everybody know, how I feel and whether or not I think they should enjoy it. And again, this one I honestly wasn't particularly fond of, for the simple fact that when you watch the trailers, they spoil a lot in the trailers. And a lot of the jokes that took place in the film had already been spoiled in the trailer. And as a lot of people know, like if you've listened to me on the ONG podcast, on the Hour podcast, and on other platforms, even on my own channel, because I talk about this all the time, I'm not a huge fan of like over-the-top forced comedy. And that's literally like the essence of Deadpool. Like, you try to accept it because when you go into certain things, it's like I'm watching Deadpool, so I've already accepted the fact that there's going to be a lot of comedy. So I kind of accepted that. But there were just moments in the film that I just wasn't too happy about. There were some cool things too, but I don't want to come across as a hater when I say things about it that I didn't like. And after I watched it, and I knew there were going to be things about it that I wasn't going to like. I knew that to be a fact. But that's why I kind of wasn't really looking forward to the review, because I know there are a lot of people that love the Deadpool character, and I don't want to be in a position where I feel like I'm shitting on something that people genuinely enjoy. But as always, I'd be doing myself and be doing you all a disservice if I didn't give you my honest thoughts and opinion. So like we always do, we're just going to review it. We're going to review the movie, and then I'll tell you what I thought at the end. So now the movie starts with Deadpool, who's actually trying to dig up Wolverine's corpse. So this takes place in, this is the end of the Fox universe, as we know it. And it takes place right when Deadpool, he's searching for Wolverine because there's a problem with his world. So let's backtrack a little bit. In Deadpool's world, his timeline is in the process of being erased. Now, in the beginning of the film, it shows him, there are a lot of cameos in this too. In this film, it shows him, he goes to, I guess, Avengers Towers, Stark Enterprises, and he has a conversation with Happy. He's talking to Happy because he's trying to join the Avengers. He wants to join the Avengers. Him and Happy have a conversation. Happy basically tells him, no, you can't be an Avenger, because he said that there's no doubt that you have all the talent in the world. But he said the problem is, you said you wanted to be an Avenger because it's what you always wanted. And he said the thing about being an Avenger, it's not about what you want, it's about what the people want. And to me, I was just like, but I get that, but he still wants to do it in service to the people. So I was just like, that wasn't that big a deal. But anyway, so he told him no, and he kicked him out. So then now his confidence is all destroyed, and he doesn't know what to do with his life. He ends up taking a job at a car dealership. And I guess because of that, he was put in a situation with both him and his ungrateful girlfriend, because she died in the second film. He moved heaven and earth to save her. He actually did save her. And then she left him because she said that due to his heartbreak over not being allowed to join the Avengers, it changed him into a different person, and a person that she didn't like. So I guess the two of them broke up, and then they ended up remaining friends. So now it's his birthday. They're having a birthday party for him. All his friends and family are there. They take pictures and everything. He gets a knock on the door, and then the knock on the door came from the good old TVA. And I honestly felt like Luke Wilson should have been there. He should have been somewhere in here. He gets a knock from the TVA, and then when he gets a knock from the TVA, the TVA basically tells him, bro, you're under arrest because you done did so much shit to the timeline, it's ridiculous. So they bring him to the TVA, and then when they bring him to the TVA, I forgot the guy's name, Morpheus, we'll just call him Prometheus. So Prometheus was there, and because he was the guy who was in charge of that particular section of the TVA. And he basically told him, he was like, look, Deadpool, he said, your timeline is fucked, and before your timeline is erased, we want to recruit you to work for the TVA because I feel like you can be a very valuable asset for us. So then he's like, well, what's wrong with my timeline? Why is my timeline getting destroyed? And he said that the Wolverine from your Earth, from your world, he died. And because he died, it basically sent your entire timeline out of whack, and now it's going to get erased forever. So Deadpool's whole thing was, he was like, fuck this. He ended up, he stole one of the time portal thingies, and he ended up going throughout space and time, throughout the multiverse, trying to find another Wolverine, because he figured, if I can bring a Wolverine to my world, that'll serve it, because they said that Wolverine was the anchor for that world. And now that he's dead, like the world is falling apart. So he's trying to find a new Wolverine so he could replace the Anchor. So he's going throughout space and time. He's going to different Wolverines. There's a montage of him talking to different Wolverines. And then finally, he meets a Wolverine in a bar that's actually at a low point. And he's actually considered the worst Wolverine in the multiverse. And this particular Wolverine, he didn't want to go with him at first. The two of them got into it. They got into a huge fight. We then find out that this particular Wolverine is actually wearing the yellow and blue Wolverine costume. And then Deadpool himself was even surprised because he was just like, I've never seen a Wolverine wear the costume. And then he was just like, well, don't ask, bub, because like, he was like, it's personal. So the two of them get into a fight. He tells him, he basically tells him like, hey, listen, I need you because, like, I need you to save my timeline and like all this hoopla. Earlier when he actually tried to go find the original, like the original Wolverine from his timeline, because he was just like, the guy has regenerative healing power. So he was like, so there's no way he's actually dead. He pulled his corpse out and he was actually dead. And then some TVA guys showed up, he killed them all, and then we're moving on. So now Wolverine, so that like the two of them are together and they're having a conversation. They're just like, why do you need my help? He's just like, I need you to help. He's like, I need you to save my timeline. The two of them go back to the TVA. They get into an argument with the people at the TVA. And then because Deadpool had lied and told Wolverine, he said, listen, if you help me, the TVA can also help repair your world as well, because in his timeline, the X-Men died and he was the only survivor. So he goes to help him thinking that the TVA can restore his world as well. So then when they get to the TVA guy's basically just like, no, I'm not helping you. He said that you can't put a Wolverine in your world and just fix things. That's not how it works. And he was like, you're supposed to be the Deadpool for my world. That doesn't work. And then he gets mad and he sends the two of them to a place called the Void. While they're in the Void, it was basically just like a desert wasteland. It was almost like purgatory. And while they were in purgatory, they were getting attacked by like these monsters or whatever. And then here comes Chris Evans. And as soon as Chris Evans popped up on screen, I said, oh, he's Johnny Storm. But they set it up to make you think he was going to be Captain America. And even Deadpool thought he was Captain America because he got excited. He was like, oh, Cap is here to save the day. And then when he took his robe off, his cloak off, we actually found out that it wasn't Captain America. It was Johnny Storm, Chris Evans from the Fantastic Four. So that whole thing is happening. They're fighting and everything. They get captured, and then they're being brought over to the person who runs the Void, and her name is Cassandra. The Void was filled basically with all of the dead characters from all the Fox X-Men movies. There was like a different Juggernaut. It wasn't even the same Juggernaut from the third movie. We saw like the devil-looking guy who had the power to disappear and like reappear, which apparently he's the one who had sex with with Mystique and ended up having Kurt. We saw Pyro, from the second X-Men film. Like Pyro was there. It was basically like different characters, like all different characters. They got some of the old actors back, which was nice to see. But then Cassandra, we find out that she's a character that I wasn't familiar in the Marvel X-Men lore, but it turns out that she's the dead sister of Charles Xavier. Whereas Charles Xavier had a twin sister, and apparently she died in the womb. And Charles had the ability to telepathically get into someone's mind by thinking, whereas his sister had the power to get into someone's mind by touching. And that was some gross ass shit, because the way that she gets into a person's mind, she actually puts her hand inside of your head and you see her hand moving around in the person's head. And they were doing stuff on purpose where they were having her fingers come out of the person's nose and out of the ears, but that's how she gets into people's heads. They do this whole comedy bit where Deadpool basically tried to blame the entire thing on Chris Evans, on Johnny Storm, and then he lied and told Cassandra that the whole time we were being transported over here, Johnny Storm was talking that shit, and then she got mad and like ripped his skin off, and then we lost Chris Evans. That's how he died. So now they said, so they're in the Void, and then when they're fighting her, like, because she was just like, oh, I'm going to offer you to the Great Beast, because there was a beast out there that was going around killing people. She tried to offer them to the Great Beast, and then they ended up escaping, they ended up running away, and they went to a refuge where there was like a freedom fighting squad of people that were trying to go up against Cassandra. Meanwhile, we find out that Cassandra and Pyro, they're working with the TVA. They're well aware of the TVA. The TVA is well aware of them. They're, like Prometheus is talking to Cassandra, and the two of them go back and forth. They're all in cahoots. So now Wolverine and Deadpool, they're with the freedom fighters. And then we find out that the freedom fighters are Elektra from the Ben Affleck Daredevil movie, Channing Tatum as Gambit, surprisingly, X-23 from Logan. And this I was actually cool with, because I was kind of spoiled about this, because up until this moment, I did a good job of not seeing spoilers. Like, I didn't look at other reviews. Like, I didn't read any spoilers. There was a lot about this movie I didn't know. Like, 98% of this film I did not know about. But I did know she was going to be in the film because I was scrolling through YouTube one day and I saw a picture of X-23 grown up as a thumbnail on someone's video. I've been doing the film thing, the video thing for years. I'm not an idiot. So if you got a Deadpool Wolverine movie coming out where they're traveling through the multiverse and someone's using a picture of X-23 grown up in their thumbnail, it's pretty obvious the girl's going to be in the movie. So when she popped up, like, I actually wasn't surprised. The only surprise of this entire film, the one thing that actually surprised me was Blade. When Blade came in, when Wesley Snipes showed up as Blade, that was the first time in the film I actually popped up a little bit, and I was like, wow, that's actually pretty damn cool. And kudos to him for even coming back. They even made a joke where, you know, he was saying, he was like, you know, like, I'm the only Blade in the universe, you know, there'll never be another Blade, and then Ryan Reynolds kind of like laughed at the camera because he's being replaced. He's being replaced as we speak. Personal opinion, I mean, the Elektra thing, I could have did without, but from a nostalgia standpoint, it was nice to see her make a comeback. And, you know, the speech that all of those characters gave was that they never actually got their swan song, and they just wanted a chance to finally be remembered for something good because people don't remember, like, their endings as something really good. Then we get to Remy LeBeau. And I'm well aware of the fact that Channing Tatum has been lobbying, actually has been cast, and has been trying to play Gambit for a very long time. And it keeps getting shut down, and he never get a chance to play the character. I'm well aware of that. However, the way that they did his powers, with the cards lighting up and the exploding, was badass. The fight scenes, badass. Him lighting up with the stick, badass. Channing Tatum does not look good in the Gambit costume. I don't know if it's the costume itself. I don't know if he gained weight as an actor. He looked like someone's fat uncle at a barbecue who's cosplaying as Gambit for his 10-year-old niece's birthday party. And I was just like, no. As soon as I saw that, I said, for the love of God, if we're ever going to do a Gambit movie, please do not cast him in this role. And he did a good job with the accent. I will give him that. But if we're serious about doing a Gambit movie, he needs to get in better shape because that was not flattering at all. So he's now with them. So now Wolverine and Deadpool, they're with the Misfit Toys, and they all agree that, you know, they want to have like a proper ending, the ending that they never got. So they're going to storm the castle and they're going to take down Cassandra. They all go to Cassandra's, you know, fortress. They storm the castle. All of them are kicking ass and taking names. Wolverine and Deadpool end up fighting Cassandra. They take the Juggernaut's helmet and they put the Juggernaut's helmet on top of her head because it has the ability to block out Charles. So then when they block him out, they shot her because Pyro actually shot her because he's also working for the TVA as well. And Paradox, or whatever the hell his name was, he told Pyro to kill Homegirl. So he shot her. They put the helmet on her. And then after that, they were just like, okay, now send us back to our timeline so we can save our world. And then she was like, you idiots, because you have this helmet on my head now, I can't send you back because I need my powers. And you just took away my powers. So then Wolverine ends up trusting her. He's just like, fuck it. He's like, they take the helmet off. And then when they take the helmet off, she ends up taking out Doctor Strange's hand. She had like cut off fingers or like a cut off hand of Doctor Strange. And she used those fingers to open a portal to send them back into the world. What did that have to do with her powers and putting the Juggernaut helmet on? Because she specifically said, I need my powers in order to send you back home. But she sent them back home using Doctor Strange fingers to create a portal back to their timeline. So I'm just like, that didn't make sense to me, but if I missed something, please explain it to me. So she makes the portal, the two of them jump back into their world, and now they're trying to save their world again. Then she talks to Pyro, and she's like, look, motherfucker, you tried to kill me. And then he was just like, oh, it was Paradox. Paradox did it. So now Wolverine and Deadpool, they're back on their Earth, or on Deadpool's Earth, and they're trying to stop the TVA, they're trying to save their timeline. And while they're trying to save their timeline, they got run up on by every single Deadpool that ever existed in the multiverse. Like the men, the women, the animals, the dogs, the creatures. The two of them end up getting into a huge fight with the entire Deadpool arsenal. They end up killing all of them, but of course you can't kill Deadpool, so they all woke up again, they all came alive. And then throughout the entire movie, when Ryan Reynolds was working at the car dealership, he had this one best friend, this random best friend. I forgot his name was Larry or Hank or Frank or whatever the case may be, but we'll call him Larry. He had a Larry, and when he had a Larry, the guy was he was like his best friend. He was like his nerd best friend. He knew he was Deadpool, and he was just like this huge admirer of his. When Larry showed up begging the other Deadpools to not kill Ryan Reynolds, they all backed off because they said that in all of their timelines they all have a Larry, and he's like he's all their favorite person. So they ended up not killing him. Wolverine and Deadpool, they end up going down to the TVA, but then they find out that the TVA called them because the TVA found out they were just Cassandra showed up. Cassandra ended up fighting them, and Cassandra went to the TVA because when Cassandra found out that Pyro was trying to kill her, she was just like, fuck this. Now I'm just going to destroy the entire multiverse, and I'm only going to leave the void, and I'll be the only supreme being, and I'll be the god of this one specific place that only exists in this one timeline. So now Wolverine and Deadpool have to stop her from destroying all of space and reality. They go down to the TVA. She's in there trying to use this machine to erase timelines. Paradox ends up telling them that in order for you to stop her, you have to take the negative negative energy with the positive energy, bring both of them together. But once you bring both of them together, it's not enough for like one Wolverine or one Deadpool to handle. And whoever tries to bring both of those powers together, they're going to instantly die. So the two of them go down there. And then we get a surprise from, I forgot her name too, but the black chick from the Loki series, the one that works in the TVA, the black girl, she made an appearance. We didn't get Luke Wilson, but at least we got the black girl. The black girl shows up because she was like, oh, there's something going on in Paradox's section of the TVA. So she goes down there to find out what's going on. So while she's on her way, Wolverine and Deadpool, they go downstairs to try to blow up this machine. Wolverine wanted to sacrifice himself because he had a conversation earlier with X-23, and he said to X-23 that basically what happened was the X-Men kept trying to get him to wear the yellow spandex, and he kept telling them to fuck off. He said he wasn't going to wear it. He didn't want to wear it because he said that if he wore it, it would make him an X-Men, and he didn't want to be part of a family. He wanted to keep them at arm's length. But then he went away somewhere, and when he came back, everybody died. So now he feels guilty because he could have been there to save them, and he didn't save them. So now he wears the X-Man uniform, the yellow spandex, every single day to honor them and to remind him that he is an X-Man. And then she was just like, we need your help to save the world. And he's like, I'm not the right man for the job. And then she said, you're never the right man for the job. That's the entire point. So then he decided, since his world was destroyed and he didn't have anything to live for, he decided he was going to sacrifice himself and be the one to bring the power together to destroy the machine. Deadpool tricked him, took over in his place. Wolverine broke the door down. The two of them are then out there together. And one person was holding on to the positive. One person was holding on to the negative. They brought both energies together. And with the energy flowing through two beings that have like massive healing power, because like he said, one Wolverine and one Deadpool isn't enough. So having both of them together was enough for them to still do that and survive. They destroyed Cassandra. She died because of the backlash. The multiverse is safe. Everything is safe again. Wolverine and Deadpool are cool. Deadpool made a speech about how the multiverse, he was like, we should just let the multiverse die because it sucks and it doesn't work. And I have a theory on that because the problem is, the reason why it's not that the multiverse doesn't work. It worked perfectly fine for the CW Arrowverse. If you watch The Flash, Arrow, Supergirl, Black Lightning, Batwoman, Legends of Tomorrow, the multiverse worked perfectly fine. The problem with the multiverse, when the multiverse doesn't work, it doesn't work if you don't get enough known actors on board. Even in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, you cannot call your film The Multiverse of Madness and not have one Avenger from another world make an appearance. There was no Sam. There was no Tony Stark. There was no Captain America. There was no Thor. There was no Black Widow. There were no characters from other worlds. There's no madness to this. Yes, we got Peggy Carter. We got Charles Xavier. We got Monica Rambeau's mother. We did get those characters. But those aren't like the forefront characters. Those are like the BC characters. I'm talking about the A-list characters. You should have had at least one person show up in that movie to justify calling it madness. And for you to do a Deadpool multiverse movie and there were a lot of actors who were not in this film. Like we got a lot of, again, like the BC list actors. We didn't get any of the A-list actors aside from Chris Evans. And Chris Evans was playing a B-list character. So it falls short because if you don't get all the actors on board to show us different versions of those different characters, your multiverse isn't going to work. The CW DC Arrowverse knew that. When they did Crisis on Infinite Earths, they hired damn near everyone they could. They got Ezra Miller's Flash in that crossover. They got Tom Welling's Superman in that They got so many people in that crossover they did it the right way. So that was my whole thing with that. But anyway, so then in the end, the one joke that I actually did laugh at throughout the entire film was when Deadpool kept telling Wolverine, because he was just like, oh, he was like, I'm done, bub. Now that Fox, sold the rights to Disney, I'm out of here. And then he was like, no, he said, Disney owns your ass now, pal, and you're going to be working he said, you're going to be playing Wolverine until you're 90. And, he kept telling him that throughout the film. And then, even in the end, somebody said something, and they said something to Wolverine about him being Wolverine, and then Deadpool was like, till you're 90, motherfucker. I thought that was funny because Disney would pull some shit like that where it's like he'll never, like he has like a lifetime contract and he can never not be Wolverine. But but in the end, Deadpool's world was safe, and then Wolverine ended up staying on his world. Deadpool invited him over to his house. X-23 was there because he asked the TVA if he could right the wrongs of like Remy LeBeau, of like X-23, of Elektra, even Blade. He was like, can you right the wrongs for those characters who were done dirty by the multiverse? And then they brought in X-23. So now X-23 and that version of Wolverine lives on the Deadpool universe. And now they're all going over to Disney now. They're all a part of Disney. So I expect X-23 to make an appearance in the next Deadpool movie. I don't know about, I don't know about Wolverine, but we'll definitely see about that. And it ended with Wolverine and Deadpool basically having fun and enjoying family. Deadpool ended up talking to Homegirl again, and they ended up having like slow conversation. I'm still confused by that dynamic. That was how the film ended. And thank you for tuning in. In the post-credit scene, Deadpool basically brought up footage of Chris Evans cursing out Cassandra to prove that he actually was talking that shit. And we did get a nice little montage to say goodbye to the Fox universe. They were showing clips from multiple aspects of it, different movies, different actors, different characters. And that was nice to see. That was very heartwarming. And I'm going to be honest with you, the nostalgia of the film and the fact that the film was more so them saying goodbye to Fox and embracing the new Marvel like Disney merger, that kind of saved the film for me, because I'm going to give this an okay. If we're going to give it a yay, a nay, or an okay, I'm going to give it an okay, but it's not a high okay, because I'm going to be honest, the joking really ruined the movie. For like the excessive joking. It's Deadpool. I get it. I understand it. I know there's going to be joking. I know there's going to be comedy. There's going to be breaking the fourth wall. That's the entire point of Deadpool. I get that. But I have to be fair in the sense of I criticized the Flash movie because I said that there was a really good film in there. But the problem is there were moments where Ezra Miller's comedy was too much. And it was so much comedy, it was taking away from actually enjoying the film, because they would do like a joking sequence, and then when they do the joking sequence, he would take it too far and he would keep going, and it was just an ongoing joke to the point where it's not funny anymore. It's like I laughed in the very beginning. Here it is 5 minutes later. We're still making this joke. Like it's not, and I feel like they did this a lot in this particular film. Like they were just jokes that just went on forever. And then after a while, it just wasn't funny anymore. It's like I didn't laugh. Like I wasn't laughing. Like a lot of the stuff was, and then it's like the cursing. Like yes, there's a lot of curse, but it's just like there are moments where it's like we're just cursing for the sake of cursing. And, it's almost like what they say in wrestling where, if you're going to have like a hardcore match, like a tables match, like a ladder match or something like that, everybody likes a good like hardcore match. But if you have 6 matches on a wrestling pay-per-view and every single match is a hardcore match, by the time you get to the 4th match, you're just kind of like, well, I saw this already. And the wow factor isn't there, and it kind of takes you out of the rest of the show because you feel like you didn't see everything that you could already see. And that's what I'm saying. Like, there were just so much jokes to the point where I'm just like, okay, now I'm not laughing anymore. And even like the storyline, it was a basic storyline. There was nothing like dazzling and amazing about the storyline. The 2 biggest surprises for me was Blade and Chris Evans being there, and a part of me kind of figured they would do that anyway, so I'm like, I wasn't even surprised by that. But I said that the joking just kind of like, it just took it down for me. It was just hard to like, there were moments, the story was good about him saving his universe, like the time travel aspect of it. The dynamic between him and Wolverine, I love that. I love the thing with him and Wolverine. I love their dynamic. Like I love the 2 of them together on screen. But I'm just saying, but like the overdone, the over-exaggerated, the extra comedy, the forced comedy, it just took me out of the moment too much, and it prevented me from like truly really enjoying the film. But the stuff that I did enjoy was really good. So for that, I will give it an okay. Like, this movie definitely is an okay. And if you want to say goodbye to the Fox universe, you should check it out. If you don't care about it, it's not something you should really break your neck to go see. Like, it's not that big a deal. But like I said, but I do give it an okay. And I mean, if anybody's offended by that, I apologize. But I mean, that's just how I feel. I got to be honest with it. Like I said, I watched the movie. I thought it was cool, but I wasn't like overly joyed and I wasn't wowed by it. But share your questions, comments, and concerns down below. Let me know what you thought about this particular movie, what you thought about Deadpool and Wolverine. Share your questions, comments, and or concerns down below, and let's talk about it, because I feel like I'm going to get slammed in the comment section for my opinion and how I felt about the film. But that's fine, because we can still have respectable conversations. Share me your perspectives. I'll give you mine, and we can go back and forth and talk about it. And I do want to see where this goes from here, because now that Disney owns all this crap, you know, I want to see what they do with it. You know, like I said, I definitely do appreciate them giving a nod and saying goodbye to the Fox universe. Like, that was very touching, and I truly do appreciate that, because I did enjoy the Fox Marvel portion of, you know, like of the films and the TV and everything that they put out. So but let me know what you thought too. Check me out on social media. Check out my other reviews, because I went to Anime NYC. My video for that should be up by the time you watch this. And check out my other reviews, because I got Batman Cape Crusader coming up. We got a lot of DC stuff coming in the pipeline. And for the love of God, I'm still waiting for that Lara Croft Tomb Raider when that Lara Croft Tomb Raider comes out as well. So thank you for tuning in, guys. So my review for Deadpool Wolverine is in the books. We'll see you on the next one for Marvel and DC and everything else in between. Take care. Watch out for the multiverse, because now Disney owns it all. And we're out this. Yeah!